You are listening to the Standard News Podcast, June 28th edition. This week's headlines include Councillor Kett apologizes for withholding information about Maple Leaf Foods' announcement, Uxbridge Culvert update, Canadian dairy farmers to showcase best farming practices to their Russian counterparts, Dellandrea drafted 13th overall by Stars, and Leah visits Uxbridge Public School.
Councillor Kett apologizes for withholding information about Maple Leaf Foods' announcement by Dan Kearns, Scugog. Scugog Ward 3 Councillor Don Kett apologized to all parties affected by his decision to withhold information from Scugog councillors and staff about a local business expansion at a meeting on Monday, June 25th. I have been requested by the Mayor, and I apologize for neglecting to inform fellow councillors and staff of a time to meet for a big announcement on Friday, June 8th. I also apologize to regional staff who were informed at the time, but were not informed the township staff weren't informed, he said in a council meeting. He also agreed to follow up his apology with an email to those affected by his decision. The Mayor accepted Ward 3 councillor's apology, allowing him to be recognized at council again. At last week's council meeting, Monday, June 18th, Councillor Kett was asked by Mayor Tom Rowett to apologize for withholding information about the Maple Leaf Foods expansion announcement from the Mayor, Township councillors, and staff. Staff were advised to attend an announcement. Staff asked for details and were only told there would be a big announcement. Staff were not told the nature of the announcement, when or where it was being held. Councillor Kett did not share it with myself or his fellow members of council. Yet the information was shared with regional staff and with reporters. I was asked by staff what we should do with this, and I directed staff not to attend because it is unfair to the rest of council that we were not notified, Mayor Tom Rowett said at the time. However, at the June 18th meeting, Councillor Kett said he did what he was requested to do. After making his statement, the Mayor found the Ward 3 councillor did not give a sincere apology and told Councillor Kett he would not recognize him in council until he did so. Look, up in the sky.
It's a bird.
It's a plane.
No, it's the Standard.
It's what?
It's the Standard newspaper serving Durham Region and the city of Kawartha Lakes. For all your local stories and much more, pick up the Standard today. Call 905-985-6985 or visit www.thestandardnewspaper.ca. Read it today.
Canadian dairy farmers to showcase best farming practices to their Russian counterparts, by Claudia Sitzma. In a joint effort by the Russian Dairy News, Leading Livestock Genetics, and the city of Kawartha Lakes, a visit by 50 Russian farmers, dairy processors, and journalists, called the Way for Milk Tour, will take place for the first time to farms in Quebec and Eastern Ontario, but will also be making stops to dairy farms in the Kawartha Lakes area on July 17th and 18th, 2018. This group hopes to be instructed in a wide array of dairy farming techniques and services, recognizing Canadian farmers have established excellence in their standards of practice for dairy farming. There will be a key focus on purchasing genetics or embryos that can be transported back to Russia to revitalize their existing herds. But just as important will be their opportunity to observe and train in all other facets of dairy farming, such as management techniques, technology, and the use of the state-of-the-art Canadian equipment and machinery. Kelly Maloney, Agricultural Development Officer of Kawartha Lakes, explains, Vera Mozgovaya, editor of the Russian Dairy News, came to the Dairy Expo in Stratford last spring for a study tour and realized there was more to learn for her readership. At a dinner hosted in Lindsay, with local farmers and municipal councillors, we discussed a large tour and she took this concept back. There will be a full agenda for the visiting delegates as they tour farms and learn more about milk production systems, feeding systems, herd and calf management, robot technology, and begin to familiarize themselves with and possibly purchase Canadian farming equipment. Kelly Maloney continued, as the market economy is in transition in Russia, they are looking to Canada to learn more about our rural community, farming life, and management systems, and how they can translate that into their larger operations. Also, this is an opportunity for us to foster and develop an export market, not only in genetics, but with farm equipment sales, as all the name brands are represented here. John DeVries, farmer and representative of the LLG, states, Last August, I went to Russia and toured through Siberia. I didn't know what to expect, but it was awesome. They have very large farms, about 500 acres each, that house around 2,000 cows each. The landscape could be compared to that of Saskatchewan, but it was warm and beautiful with rolling hills scattered with birch trees. The reason this group is visiting here is that the agricultural community was dropped by the government in 1941, and first-generation families are starting to take over the farms now. When they come here, they want to see how we do things, and they'll get to see how family farms are run here. We have a whole package of management tools to provide to them. They will be touring farms, businesses, and processing plants that have the technology they're looking for. The last day of the tour will include a public event hosted at Tom and Tracy Benshop's farm. All are welcome to come and meet with the Russian tour group and enjoy an evening of festivities beginning at 6 p.m. Uxbridge Culvert Update. Cassidy McMullen, Uxbridge.
With drawings for the new culvert done, contractors are currently pricing out the cost of replacing the old culvert. City Council will be receiving a report on July 16th, and then the City will be able to set a schedule for the construction that will take over Brock Street, between Toronto Street and Main Street, and Centennial Drive. The City is hoping for construction to start sometime in August. Right now, they've already started site prep, and on June 25th, test pits were dug on Centennial Drive and in the Coffee Time parking lot. It just gives them a good idea of what the ground is going to be like to dig, Ben Kester, the Director of Public Works, said. While the construction company will determine the timeline and where they will be on the project, the City reassures people Centennial Drive and Brock Street will not be closed at the same time. The City is also hoping to have Brock Street open for Memorial Day and the Santa Claus Parade. During construction, there will be pedestrian access to the businesses via walkways and a drop-off at Brock and Toronto Street while Brock is closed. The culvert is a necessary piece of infrastructure that helps divert water flow to prevent flooding in the downtown section of Uxbridge. Some of the 9 different culvert sections are over 100 years old and are currently in progressive structural failure.
Technical foul.
North Durham Sports.
Ty Dellandrea, drafted 13th overall by Stars. Marlo Stanfield, special to the Standard. Scugog. Port Perry's Ty Dellandrea didn't have to wait long to hear his name called at this weekend's NHL entry draft in Dallas, with the hometown Stars selecting the 17-year-old center with the 13th overall selection. Hearing the fans after my name got called, I was speechless, said Dellandrea, a former student at Uxbridge Secondary School. To hear that roar and be able to walk down to that stage with them cheering? Dellandrea spent his first years in minor hockey with the Port Perry Predators House League program. From the 2010-11 season, he made the jump to rep hockey in Adam, helping the Predators to the OMHA Championship. In the spring of 2016, Dellandrea was selected 5th overall by the OHL's Flint Firebirds, and this past season led the team with 59 points, 27 goals and 32 assists, in 67 games played. As well, Dellandrea has always represented Canada numerous times in international competition, including 2 appearances at the World Under-18 Championships. Ranked in the mid-20s by most scouting services, it appeared to catch Dellandrea by surprise when his name was called by Stars captain Jamie Benn and Hall of Famer Mike Mondano. It was unbelievable. 2 guys that you look up to in the hockey world, added Dellandrea. To have your name called by Jamie is something I'll remember for the rest of my life. Coming into Friday night's NHL draft, Dellandrea was lauded for his intangibles, his hard work, dedication, and leadership abilities. Stars GM Jim Nill cited these traits following the pick. It's how he competes, Nill said. We like how he improved during the season. It was his attitude. He went to Flint. It was a mess. And he went there and said, I want to be part of this. He helped change the culture and everything else. He became the leader there. He's got great speed, really well-rounded skills. We think he's just kind of touching the edge of what he can really become. There's a lot more to give there, and we think he's going to reach that. Dellandrea's next step is attending the Stars development camp next week. Early indications from the Stars are that Dellandrea will return to Flint in the fall for his 3rd season with the Firebirds.
Arts and entertainment.
Leah Daniels visits Uxbridge Public School. Cassidy McMullen, The Standard. Uxbridge. Leah Daniels came to Uxbridge Public School on June 19th to give the students a special end-of-year assembly. The students were dressed in hats and boots for their Western Day, ready for Uxbridge's own Ms. Daniels. She performed covers like Somebody Told Me by the Killers, Let It Be by the Beatles, and her own music like First, To Get Her, and Nothing. The students sang along waving their arms, especially when she sang Let It Go from Frozen and How Far I'll Go from Mona. "This is cool for me," Leah said. She remembered coming to Uxbridge Public School to play against the school in volleyball, and now she was back performing for them. Growing up in Uxbridge, Leah Daniels took part in the local musical productions like Annie, Grease, and West Side Story. She told the students that while she tried out for the position of Annie, she was cast as one of the other orphans instead, but she didn't let that discourage her. "That didn't stop me, and I kept singing. We thought since we had a strong music program and a strong interest in music here, and Leah was available, we would go with a music presentation," Principal Deborah Sanford of Uxbridge Public School explained. Lindsay Dawson, a French teacher at the school, is cousins with Leah Daniels, so she arranged the event. "I asked her if she would be interested," Miss Dawson said. "We thought it would be a good connection to music, to show kids a real-life connection, just to relate music to the different areas you can go in music," Miss Dawson explained, "that it's not just all about the singing." "I can only sound so good on my own," Leah Daniels told the students. She shared how she relies on her tech crew, her manager, and her band to perform. "Yes, I'm a singer, but I am also an entrepreneur," she said, highlighting the fact she puts on different hats so she can do what she loves, from prompting and social media to songwriting and designing album cover art. She gave copies of her new CD to all the students, and they crowded around her getting signatures at the risk of missing their own buses. Leah Daniels will be performing in the upcoming Uxbridge Hits Fest in Elgin Park, July 14th.
For more local news, visit www.thestandardnewspaper.ca. The Standard Podcast was produced by Greenstream Studio. Visit www.greenstreamstudio.ca for all your multimedia production needs.